Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to this patch video for Thief Lord from the website Royal Road. This patch video will contain chapters 3 and 4, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 3, Character Recreation. I ended up spending 6 hours researching the Thief Lord class. 6 whole hours. The longest amount of time I've spent outside the game for 3 months. It's necessary though. I needed to thoroughly analyze and develop a basic strategy moving forward. This included looking into the unique mechanics of a Thief Lord class itself, as well as its stats, growth directions, abilities, and suitable combat tactics. That wasn't eating up too much of my time though. What really put into my precious game time was comparing them to every single general skill available to all classes, be it physical, magical, or crafter related. That's a really huge deal, considering there are several hundred potential skills and development paths out there. I also made a rough analysis of which race my class should be, and in what location that I should have the most optimal chance of long-term survival, while also providing a decent ground for actually developing a character. Seriously, I even made graphs and spreadsheets. Okay, maybe I copied a bunch of them off the internet, but that is beside the point. It took a whole lot of creative thinking, a couple of tough calls, and a few surprising discoveries to finally land on a decent character build. It's actually kind of outrageous, if I do say so myself. The only thing left to do is to actually putting the potentially disastrous class to use. This is the only one obstacle left in my path now. The one thing that I've dreaded since the whole venture began, deleting my necromancer. Which is why I've spent the last 10 minutes staring intently at my gaming console while clutching a cheap bottle of beer and slowly turning lukewarm in my grip. This is a big deal for me. I feel like a father trying to come to terms with letting his child move away to go to college. Except in my case, I won't ever see the kid again. I put my entire soul into that character, as I spent the better part of 3 months developing it from scratch. A part of me still tells me to just say "frick it" and try to keep on playing on it, but I know that this is the correct call. If I have to choose between the character and my foolish childhood dream, then I have to go with my dream. Stealing my resolve, I chugged the remaining of my beer and accessed my gaming profile remotely on my tablet. I show no hesitation in pressing the character delete button, but my finger twitches when the game asks me to confirm my choice. My eyes close before I tap the confirm button with little more than forced and necessary. A small shiver of regret passes through my chest as my character page goes blank, ready to accept the creation of a new character. Oh God, what am I doing? I sigh as I gently shake my head. I'm either the dumbest person alive or the most reckless one. I'm not sure either choice is particularly flattering. There is no turning back now, I guess, I sigh. I have 1 month to do this, 1 month to make this work. I only hope that I didn't shoot myself in the foot. I discard my tablet and step into my capsule. With the helmet and caress safely attached to my body, I close the plastic lid and let my body sink into the soft fabrics. With a push of the button, the vision goes dark. The game soundtrack blasts in my ears as Ascendance Unlimited's theme intro movie starts running, showing me the grandeur of the game in all its might as it promises untold riches and adventure for any who dare enough to grasp it. Well, I'm not going to watch through it for the upteenth time, so I quickly dismiss it and move on to the character creation page. There is no reason to burn any more precious game time than I already have, after all. I am soon greeted by a menu that I didn't think I'd ever see again, just half a day earlier. Welcome to Ascendance Unlimited, traveler. Ascendance Unlimited has a lot to offer anyone bold enough to reach for the top. Will you choose a path of an adventurer, one destined to challenge the mightiest of beasts and brave the darkest of dungeons? Or maybe you will follow the path of a craftsman, creating items of legendary power that'll spread your name to the very edges of the world. Or perhaps you'll choose the path of darkness and crime, forever at our cost. Beware, traveller, the path of a villain always leads to ruin. Do you have what it takes to reach ascendancy? Choose your path, traveler. Path of the adventurer, path of the craftsman, or path of the villain. I snort at the dramatic-sounding text. It's a bit over the top, but I suppose it's the standard for games these days. There are probably loads of people getting a kick out of it. I didn't think about it last time, but the text seems to push people in the direction of playing as an adventurer. And what's up with the grim message at the end? The path of a villain always leads to ruin. Is that the way to say that there is no way for villains to thrive? Or does it mean that I'll either ruin myself or my enemies? Regardless, I'll make sure it's the latter if that's the case. Selecting the path of villain, I receive a prompt asking me to confirm my choice. Or perhaps it's a warning. You have chosen the path of the villain. The path of the villain is the hardest path to travel, and many will falter on the way to the top. Succeed, and you will have the power and riches beyond your wildest imagination. Fail, and be forever hunted for your crimes. The path of the villain offers the following traits. Life of crime. Villains lose 5 levels upon death, and all accumulated gold and items in the inventory can be looted by enemies. No deposits. Villains cannot store valuables in banks. Marked. Players attacking a villain to suffer no penalties from the authorities, even in safe zones. Outcast. Villains cannot use the party function or join a guild. Entrepreneur. Villains have access to special NPCs to sell their stolen goods. Unhelpful. Villains cannot take on ordinary quests. Deep pockets. Inventory size for villain is doubled. Are you certain you wish to follow this path, traveler? Yep, that's a pretty clear warning if I ever saw one. Hell, just show me the path-related traits should be enough to deter most players from even considering playing as a villain. Almost every single one of them is terrible, especially the first one, life of crime. Ordinary players only lose roughly 20% of the gold if they die, while the villains lose everything. They even lose 5 levels if they end up biting the apple. It's horrifying, really, and makes the game feel like I'm playing on Iron Man mode. The only solace we have is that we have a slight edge when it comes to strength. The other traits are all equally horrible, except for Entrepreneur's trait, which can only be considered a mediocre boon, and the Deep Pockets trait, which is helpful, but not critically necessary. It also makes me want to reconsider playing the villain already, the keyword being almost. Next up, the list of available villain classes appear in front of me. My eyes linger for a moment on the Necromancer, a small knot tying my stomach as I force my eyes to move past it. I make my way down the short list of about 20 different classes until I find what I'm looking for at the very bottom. Thief Lord. Selecting it, a new list of class-specific traits appear. You have selected the Thief Lord class. The Thief Lord thrives in the bellies of the underworld. This is a class that operates in the shadows, commanding the dredges of society to steal and murder anyone who stands in the way. You will find no morals walking down this path. The Thief Lord class offers the following unique traits. Incognito. You can conceal your class with a different chosen class. Recruit underlings. You can recruit underlings. Gold for blood. You can resurrect underlings for coin. Fence. You can sell stolen items for 50% of the original item's value. Requires you to recruit a fence. Information broker. You can use a special NPC to gather otherwise inaccessible information. Jobs. Your underlings can perform jobs like heists, muggings, arsons, assassinations, and spying. Boss-sized. Transfer 75% of your charisma attribute into the chosen non-attribute. Transfer 75% of your luck attribute into the chosen non-core attribute. Choices are final. Hideout. Can establish hideouts for NPCs to gather, rest, and be assigned jobs. Do you have what it takes to be a Thief Lord? Oh, hell yes. This is what I'm talking about. The general villain traits may be horrible, but the class-specific ones are what really draws me in. These are all fantastic, or at least they would be if they weren't coupled with the villain traits. But whatever. Challenges like this are what makes this path fun and what keeps my competition at bay. On paper, the Thief Lord looks really strong. The traits are actually overall more powerful than any other villain classes, especially the boss size trait, which effectively increases my basic stats by a whole lot. All villain classes gain some sort of bonus, and this is amongst the largest. The downside, however, is that the two core attributes for the Thief Lord are Charisma and Luck, effectively the two most useless combat-related attributes there are. The boss size perk is just there to give me at least some semblance of a chance of survival. The real strength of the Thief Lord's class lies in the sense of subterfuge and strategy. The Thief Lord is, similar to a Necromancer, all about using minions to achieve their goals. The difference is that the Thief Lord has the underlings can blend into society, making them able to operate inside a city. A Thief Lord's underlings are overall stronger than the undead, but it falls short when it comes to the sheer quantity of minions. It's a challenging class to play, but I think that it's the best option that I have to achieve my goals. Moving on, I choose to which race I want to play. Ascendance Unlimited, like most other fantasy games, allows you to choose which race you want to play from a wide selection of fantasy creatures. They all have unique traits which allow them to excel in different roles. For example, I played as a Dark Elf when I played as a Necromancer because it gave me a nice boost to death and dark magic, as well as the racial skill Dark Vision. It was perfect for my needs as a Necromancer. The benefits aren't too large, but neither are they negligible. I spent some time choosing my race, weighing several options up against one another. In the end, it all came down to 3 different races. Human, the most common race in all of Ascendance Unlimited. Humans are an all-round adaptable race with no apparent weakness. They have a thirst for knowledge that only gnomes can match, and a willingness to do anything to obtain it. 5% to 2 chosen attributes, minus 5% to 2 chosen attributes, plus 5% to any skill gain. Halfling, one of the youngest of all the races, being a social and outgoing race, you often find halflings at the center of attention despite their short stature. Halflings are skilled entertainers and shrewd merchants, often underestimated by the other races. 10% increase to luck and charisma, minus 10% to strength and agility, plus 5% to profit from any transaction. Wood Elf. Wood Elves are an isolationist race who reside deep inside the Talmara forest. While they tend to shy away from other races, they are in no way disliked. Wood Elves are amongst the best assassins in Ascendance Unlimited, favored by other races to solve internal disputes quickly and efficiently, if the price is right. 10% experience gain to any agility-based attacks, minus 10% experience gain to any strength-based attacks, 5% increased in quest rewards. This was really a tough choice for me. The easiest choice would be to play a human, as I could tailor the race to suit my own playstyle. It doesn't hurt that 5% bonus skill gain would be almost welcome. It was definitely a viable race to play in the long term, which is why the human race is still the most popular race to play for most players. The halfling is also really interesting. Most players who want to play as either a bard or a merchant choose to play as the short little buggers. What really caught my eye about the race is the large bonus to charisma and luck. That's a huge thing for a Thief Lord whose core abilities are reliant on those 2 attributes. The race would be perfect for a class, if not because of the penalties to agility. Thief Lords are heavily dependent on staying out of sight of other players, and the stealth skill requires a high level of agility to function properly. It's almost as if the game developers created this class just to taunt us. The 3rd race is the best race to stay hidden. Wood Elves are naturally stealthy, and they come with a good boost to leveling agility skills. It's a perfect race to play for survivability. And the only downside that I can see is the useless bonus to increase request rewards, and the fact that it doesn't offer a bonus to my core attributes. Close to 80% of Thief Lords out there chose to play one of these 3 races, with the majority of them opting to play either human or wood elf. My strategy from the start is to focus on stealth and survivability, so one would assume that I would choose to play a wood elf. It may not be the most efficient class to choose to maximize my attribute points, but I cannot deny the strength of the bonus to agility skill gain. Well, going against everyone's assumptions, I decided to play a halfling. Why would I do that, though? Not because I'm an idiot, far from it. I chose to play it as a halfling because the game offers little-known alternative to going down the agility stealth route. What is that, you may ask? Well, magic, baby. It may be difficult to start out as a thief lord initially, but I've decided to pursue the path of an illusionist. Yep, a mage that specializes in illusion magic. Illusion magic is probably the least chosen school of magic in the game because it offers little practical utility for the traditional mage. It would be just unnecessary drain to the precious skill points. It's neither a viable path that a rogue player would ever attempt doing, as they couldn't afford to waste valuable attribute points by putting them into intelligence. But what about a person who just wants to hide and manipulate? It's perfect. In my opinion, thief lords were never meant just to be a common assassin with a bunch of minions following him. I'm not supposed to be the one right in the thick of it, fighting off my enemies with my own two hands. My strength lies in buffing my minions and staying far away from combat as humanly possible. The path of an illusionist allows me a much more utility and agility build ever could. I can't believe that no one ever thought of it really. Wasting the majority of my attributes into agility just because of a single beneficial skill is ludicrous. Content with my choice of race, I grin and give myself a mental pat on the shoulder for what could potentially be the single smartest thing that I've ever done before. Next up is choosing the appearance of my halfling. The game forces me to play as a male character, denying the players the option of freely choosing after a series of very gender-demeaning videos were posted online by a bunch of prepubescent teenagers who did, well, you can imagine. In front of me is a nearly naked halfling character who shares several features similar with my real-life appearance. The character is about 1 meter 30 tall, with short, dark blonde hair, pointy ears, and bright green eyes. I'd say he looks quite handsome, but I suppose I'm rather biased. The halfling looked just like a regular super short human would, except with a bit more body girth, as is customary for the race. Well, I suppose there's no reason to make a few adjustments. I open up the menu and make a few alterations to my character. I shorten some of the fat from the stomach and increase my height to roughly 1 meter 40, the highest I can go. I also give a little guy some well-defined abs and a nice, mean and muscular build. There is no reason I shouldn't look as visibly pleasing as possible given the options. No? Satisfied with my adjustments, I move on to the last stage of the character creation. Please choose the location, Thief Lord. A map of the game takes up a majority of my vision. A world of Ascendance Unlimited is huge, spanning hundreds of kilometers in any direction. There are multiple viable starting locations spread across the world, and you can choose to play mostly wherever you want. The game world is divided into 3 continents, each one offering a distinct variety of playable races and environments. The Western continent, which I played on earlier, is a continent consisting of mostly forests, lush green fields, and mountains. It's short of similar to Northern Europe or Canada back in reality. The races inhabiting this continent are mostly human-looking races, like humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, and the like. The southern continent offers vast deserts and jungles. Their inhabitants are monstrous races, like orcs, goblins, cyclopses, and ogres. The eastern continent is a bit more exotic, and offers vast plains, tundras, and snowy mountains, as is inhabited by a melting pot of different races, like beastmen, demons, undead, and mermen. I quickly find the human-dominated Empire and the western continent, where I initially started playing as a necromancer. Allowing my eyes to find a small village I tried to annihilate a few hours ago. Common Village sits isolated deep in the wilderness between the forests of Talchag and Talthriel. The village is connected between the city of Drenerus and the town of Culrus, who have populations of 5,000 and 3,000 NPCs respectively. I thought about it for quite some time, but I decided to have my character start in the city of Drenerus. I mostly wanted to start in this area because I'm already familiar with the layout of the surrounding forests, but also because I have hidden stashes of gold and crafting materials stashed deep inside the Talshog forest. Since the villains are unable to store their valuables in banks, we have to hide our loot in special storage chests that we can move around wherever we want. These crates are lootable just by about anyone, so the trick is to hide them carefully, far away from prying eyes. With all of that taken care of, the only thing I'm left deciding was the name of my character. I really wanted to use my regular gaming tag, but since my cover was blown on Necromancer, I don't risk anyone making some sort of odd connection if they see the same name reappear close to the same place my Necromancer was last spotted. So, I need to come up with a new name, something incognito, but also something that is fitting as a Thief Lord, but also vague enough to make sure that no one instantly suspects me of playing a Thief Lord. That would be all great, but I really suck at naming things. Therefore, my character shall from here on be known as Sir Renorn Stabberton, first of his name. Okay, maybe just Renorn Stabberton. I'm not sure if I could take the grief if I actually someday do become famous. Finally, wrapping the character creation process, I confirm all my choices, and I can almost feel the goosebumps form on my skin as I anticipate delving into Ascendant Unlimited for a second time. A bright flash of white light signals the confirmation of my choices, and a final notification appears in front of me. Congratulations on creating your character, Thief Lord. You will be transferred to the chosen starting location, Drenerus, shortly. Good luck on your journey, Thief Lord. End of chapter. Chapter 4. The plotting begins. The bright light lessens as I find myself a solid ground beneath my feet once more. A cool ocean breeze rustles through my hair as I take a deep breath. Damn, I already missed this feeling, and it hasn't even been 8 hours since I was last in game. I think I might have developed some sort of addiction to virtual reality. Looking around, I notice I spawned in an alley in what we can only guess is a residential area. I can't see much from here, but I notice I'm fairly close to the city walls. So this is Drenerus, huh? I mutter to no one in particular. This is actually the first time I've stepped inside of a city in Ascendance Unlimited since my necromancer had a certain occupational limitations when it came to sightseeing. It feels nice. I didn't read too deep into Drenerus aside from getting a rough estimate of its population, but my first impression of the city was quite favorable. Being a small city on the southeastern shore of the Imperia Empire, Drenerus is an important trade hub connecting the Empire to the kingdoms south of the Great Sea. I chose to start the city because it's large enough for me to be able to operate in while still keeping a low profile, while also just being small enough that there won't be too many hardcore players loitering around. This might actually work out, I grinned, as I find a clean patch of cobblestones to sit on hidden behind a few crates. I'd really like to have a look around, but it would be pretty stupid to walk around without first hiding my class. I open up my status page for the very first time. Status. Name, Renorn Stabberton, Class Thief Lord, Race Halfling, Level 1, Health 50, Mana 50, Experience 0 out of 100, Renown not applicable. Attributes: Strength 5, 5 minus 10%, Endurance 5, Agility 5, 5 minus 10%, Dexterity 5, Perception 5, Intelligence 5, Wisdom 5, Charisma 6, 5 plus 10%, Luck 6, 5 plus 10%, Unassigned attribute points 15, Equipment, Status Effects, Thief Lord Basic Abilities, Class Skills, General Combat Skills, General Social Skills, Lesser Magic Skills, Professions, Unassigned Skill Points 3, Unassigned Professions 1. Well, that's pretty much exactly what I expected my stats to be. I already know from the experience that the status page can go on forever and ever, so I opt not to show most of the status list to avoid clutter. The good thing is that everything seems to be in order already. I have the customary 15 free tribute points ready to be assigned, as well as 3 unassigned skill points and an unassigned profession. Every class has the same starting points, except for the profession slot. Regular adventurers are not allowed to have a profession, while craftsmen can have up to 4. Since us villains already have enough problems as it is, the developers were kind enough to grant each of us an ability to select a single profession. Not that it does much good, since the actual tradecraft skills still use up a precious skill point, but that's grief for another day. There never seems to be enough skill points. It's been a long time since you could get into a world and discover skills on your own, or find some sort of trainer to teach you skills. Each and every skill in the game must be purchased with a skill point, and every time you want to increase that skill cap, either level 20, 40, and so on, you have to spend another skill point to raise the cap. That makes the game challenging and also rewarding, as it forces you to plan ahead and build unique skills and sets tailored to your playstyle. I am not 100% sure yet which skills to prioritize, but I have made pretty decent speculations on the subject. Continuing through the status page, I open up my equipment tab to confirm the meager possessions I have. Equipment. Weapon, not applicable. Offhand, not applicable. Helmet, not applicable. Neck, not applicable. Shoulder, not applicable. Chest, rough linen tunic, common, plus 3% physical resistance. Hands, not applicable. Ring 1, not applicable. Ring 2, not applicable. Legs, rough linen pants, common, plus 2% physical resistant. Feet, sandals, common, plus 2% movement speed. Special, villain's mask, class unique, soulbound. While wearing conceals your name but reveals your true name upon death. The equipment tab was just what I expected, as I am outfitted with the only minimal clothes and sandals. The real reason I wanted to have a look, however, is because of the unique class item, the villain's mask. Every villain character has access to it, as it would otherwise be nigh impossible to perform combat versus other players without revealing your identity. It allows me to hide my gamer ID as long as I don't die, but it also hides my true class, which would otherwise be open invitation for any adventurer to try and kill me on sight. Being a necromancer, I had the item toggled on at all times, as I then could hide amongst the players as the Thief Lord does, which reminds me, I should probably keep this thing off for the time being. Next up, I open up my status effect list. This list shows all the current effects of my character, as well as the traits and abilities which grant me a permanent attribute and skill boost. Status effects. Halfling, 10% increase to charisma and luck, minus 10% to strength and agility attribute, 5% to profit to any transaction. Incognito, class is concealed to none. Boss size, stat increases, 75% to charisma to not selected, 75% of luck to not selected. Deep pockets, inventory size doubled. I mumble as I scratch my head. I'm about to make the probably two most difficult decisions going forward. I put a lot of thought into which class to masquerade as, and I believe that I found the best choice. My main concern was finding a class that people wouldn't have a reason to suspect. Someone that would have no reason to try and party up or invite to a guild, as well as someone who wouldn't raise eyebrows if they were left in the city. Naturally, I figured I would need to masquerade as a crafter class. The problem being, which one? I'd prefer not to choose a profession at all, but it is a perfect cover for later. What sort of crafter would be able to create anything after all? Crafting professions are the perfect alias. Since I need to find a profession to have anyway, why shouldn't I pick one that could be complementing my playstyle, while also benefiting from one or two of my heightened attributes? After a good while of reading, I found the perfect profession. Trapmaster. I know, right? Trapmaster is a profession where you can produce, place, and dismantle traps. It requires high dexterity and luck to function, which suits me fine, since my core attributes are charisma and luck, and I have a glorious ability to boost 2 of my non-core attributes by 75% of my 2 core attributes. I can freely decide on which direction to take my character. I've already decided to use one of the boosts on intelligence, as a high intelligence is required to effectively use illusion spells. This leaves me with 1 free attribute to boost. Most people would consider boosting wisdom to increase mana regeneration, but I don't believe that it would be necessary in my case. I don't plan on staying in fights for a prolonged amount of time, and neither am I planning on using that many spells per fight to begin with. Increased mana regeneration would just be a waste on me. I don't have any access to offensive magic skills, as those are all exclusive to magic-type characters. And even if I could use spells, I never would. Nothing screams, "Hey, come kill me," like a back row fireball dispenser. Which is what made me decide to throw my last boost into dexterity. Not only is it a requirement for pretty much everything crafting profession, but it is also a key attribute in decreasing ranged damage. As a backline fighter, I could really use the way of attacking enemies. The best and most subtle way of doing so would be with either a bow or a crossbow. Choosing dexterity as one of my main attributes gives me both attacking power and a decent alias. It's a win-win situation for me already. Thinking through it all, I can still come to terms with the silly character that I'm building. I'm a freaking thief lord / illusionist / trapmater / archer, with my main attributes being charisma, luck, intelligence, and dexterity. I don't know if I should cry or laugh. The whole thing is just too absurd. I end up selecting Trapmaker as my fake class and assign 75% of my boosts from charisma to intelligence, while assigning my boost from luck to dexterity. Confirming my choices, I release a deep sigh that I didn't know that I was holding in. I just made the really important decision, one that'll determine everything that happens to me from here on out. In moving in uncharted territory here, and I can only hope that these decisions will pay off in the future. I decide to forego opening the profession and skill tabs. Why bother, considering that they're empty as school at night? The final page I do need to look through right now is the one I've been anticipating for the longest. The list of basic thief lord abilities. Basic thief lord abilities. Incognito. Conceal your class with a different chosen class. Effectiveness against perception checks. 0.5 charisma plus 0.5 luck. Current chosen class, Trapmaker. Gold for blood. Resurrect underlings for coin. Tier 1 underlings, 5 copper. Tier 2 underlings, 1 gold. Tier 3 underlings, 10 gold. Tier 4 underlings, 20 gold. Tier 5 underlings, 30 gold. Tier 6 underlings, 50 gold. Tier 7 underlings, 70 gold. Underlings lose 5 levels upon resurrection. Cannot go lower than level 10. Resurrection is only available inside taverns. Recruit underlings. Able to recruit underlings, only possible inside taverns. 1 underlings per 5 charisma. Promote lieutenant. Upgrade an underling to lieutenant. You may upgrade 1 lieutenant per 50 charisma. Establish hideout. Establishes a hideout where your underlings gather, rest, and get assigned jobs. Boss sized. Transfer 75% of your charisma attribute into the chosen non-core attribute. Transfer 75% of your luck attribute into the chosen non-core attribute. Choices are final. Current choices, charisma becomes intelligent. Luck becomes dexterity. Yes, the unique abilities of the Thief Lord. Only villains have inherited abilities like this, and each class has a unique set of abilities. It's what defines the classes really, and the abilities are what makes the Thief Lord such a fearsome force to be reckoned with. The best thing about them is that they are abilities and not skills. That means I don't have to spend precious skill points to unlock them. And I don't need to grind the skill levels. They're just there to be used at my leisure. Finally, done looking through my status page, I make one final adjustment. I dump all 15 of my free attribute points into charisma. My single most important objective for now is to make certain nobody discovers that I'm Thief Lord. And the only way to do that is to make sure that my disguise is nigh impenetrable. My incognito skill becomes more powerful the higher my charisma and luck stat get, which means that I need to keep my incognito ability higher than my enemy's perception score. Also, I'm highly reliant on minions, and if I am to make an impact on these early levels, I need as many underlings as I can get my hands on. Charisma is the way to go in that regard. After making the changes, I once again open up my attributes page. Attributes: Strength 5, 5 minus 10%. Endurance 5. Agility 5, 5 minus 10%. Dexterity 5 plus 6 divided by 75%. Perception 5. Intelligence 22, 5 plus 22 divided by 75%. Wisdom 5, Charisma 22, 20 plus 10%, Luck 6, 5 plus 10%, unassigned attribute points 0. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My charisma and intelligence tributes have shot through the roof by only adding 15 points to charisma. Since incognito skill is efficient at 50% of my charisma and 50% of my luck stat added together, that means my incognito ability can block all perception up to level 14. Not quite the amount I was hoping for, but it should help by prying eyes on most low-level players out of my business. It's an overall strong ability against players around my own level, and it's doubtful anyone but those severely invested in perception builds will have a chance at discovering me. But since the villain classes will always be underdeveloped compared to adventurers, the ability isn't quite as powerful as I'd like. Well, enough is enough. There is no reason for me to waste time looking through my statistics any further. I have a lot of things to get done today, and I'm burning daylight. Sparing a glance at my clock, I noticed that it is already 9 p.m. Ever since they released the VR capsules, people have been flocking to the devices for one reason. They can both stay hooked up and work, entertain yourself, or play games, all the while your real body is fast asleep. This means that people can technically be fully awake for 24 hours per day, as long as at least some of those hours are spent hooked up to the capsule. This means that there is no need for such trivialities as proper in-game day-night cycles, as many players only log in to play during the nighttime. Since so many players wouldn't find it interesting to play Ascendance Unlimited if it was always dark outside when they were playing, the developers had to do something with the in-game clock. To find a decent balance between night and day players, the developers moved nighttime to occur between 3 a.m. and 10 a.m. That way, the night players can enjoy 4 hours of daylight, while the day players can enjoy a few hours of nighttime during the morning. It's a nice feature, but not really one that applies to someone like me who tries to spend as much time as possible online. I jump to my feet and brush some dirt off my pants. My buttocks feels a little sore after spending so much time sitting on the hard cobblestone. But it's a small price to pay to be able to prepare myself for the road ahead. I still have my 3 skill points unassigned, and I'd rather hold off on using them until I figure out where I want to go from here. Regardless, my first priority is to get an overview of my surroundings and find a tavern, so they're recruiting some underlings. It's time to get this crime train rolling. Choo-choo. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this batch video. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to go and show the author some support. And if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below. The easiest way to support this channel would be to subscribe and share as much as possible to help this channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next video, and until then I hope you all keep well and safe. Cheers.